My name is Madison Hart. I'm 31, and I live in a cozy two-bedroom in Chicago's Lakeview neighborhood, where the streets hum with coffee shops, dog walkers, and the distant rumble of the L train. My husband, Caleb, is 36, a carpenter who runs his own renovation business. He's the kind of man who smells like sawdust and coffee, who builds custom bookshelves with his hands and never brags about it. Quietly dependable, he's the anchor to my chaos, a digital marketing manager for a trendy cosmetics brand, always juggling campaigns, Zoom calls, and wine-fueled girls' nights with my friends Jenna and Marissa. I'm the one who's too busy to cook, but never misses a chance to scroll Instagram until my eyes burn. Caleb doesn't mind. He's never demanded much. Just makes sure I get home safe from bars, keeps the fridge stocked, and fixes the furnace before Chicago's winters hit. Our life looks good on paper, a solid marriage, a cute apartment with exposed brick, and a social circle that thrives on banter and brunch. But lately, I'd been feeling restless, like I was waiting for something shinier, something more. I didn't know what, or maybe I did, and I was too ashamed to admit it. It was a Friday night when everything fell apart. I'd been out at a Wrigleyville bar with Jenna and Marissa laughing too loud over sangria and stories about our college days. By the time I stumbled home, buzzed eyeliner, smudged heels dangling from my hand, Caleb was still awake. He was on the couch, bathed in the soft glow of a lamp, reading some trade article about eco-friendly kitchen tiles for a client's project. He looked up, his hazel eyes catching mine, and offered a faint smile. "Have fun," he asked, his voice warm but tired. I don't know what snapped in me. Maybe it was the wine loosening my filter. Maybe it was the resentment I'd been nurturing, fed by late-night scrolls through TikTok videos of chiseled guys with perfect jawlines and curated lives. Maybe it was the way Caleb's flannel shirt and unshaven jaw suddenly felt too ordinary compared to the fantasy I'd been chasing in my head. Whatever it was, I didn't respond with kindness or even silence. I looked at him, my husband, the man who'd built our dining table from scratch, and said, "I'm not even attracted to you anymore." The words sliced through the room like a blade. The hum of the radiator stopped, or maybe it just felt that way. Caleb blinked, his face paling as if I'd punched him. "What did you say?" he asked, his voice low, not angry, just hollow, like he was hoping he'd misheard. I didn't repeat it. I didn't need to. The way his shoulders slumped told me he'd heard every syllable. I tried to laugh it off, mumbling something about being drunk and dramatic, but the damage was done. His eyes, usually so steady, were glassy with a pain I hadn't seen before. He looked like I'd unraveled his entire world in one sentence. I stumbled into the kitchen, splashing cold water on my face, telling myself it was just the alcohol talking. But even as I gripped the sink, I knew better. I'd been thinking it for months, comparing Caleb to the glossy, unattainable men on my social feeds, resenting his normalcy, his lack of flash. He wasn't a gym bro with a six-pack or a finance guy with a Rolex. He was Caleb kind, grounded, a little rough around the edges. And somewhere along the way, I'd decided that wasn't enough. When I returned to the living room, he was gone. Not just from the couch, his car keys were missing. From the hook by the door, his coat too. I texted him twice. "Hey, where'd you go?" And then, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean it." No reply. I sat on the couch, the silence pressing against me, expecting him to come back, maybe angry, maybe hurt, but ready to talk it out. He didn't. Morning came gray and heavy, with a Chicago drizzle. I found Caleb sitting on the edge of our bed, staring at the hardwood floor. He'd refinished himself 2 years ago. His eyes were bloodshot, his hands clasped tightly in his lap. He didn't look at me when I whispered, "Caleb." The air felt fragile, like one wrong word could shatter it. When he finally turned, the pain in his face made my stomach lurch. "Do you actually feel that way?" he asked, his voice raw, like he'd been up all night wrestling with the question. About me. About us. I wanted to lie, to blame the sangria, to say it was a stupid drunken outburst. But my throat tightened, and the words wouldn't come. Because part of me wasn't sure. Part of me had been drifting, chasing some vague idea of more, without ever defining it. And that uncertainty was as cruel as the truth. He stood moving to the closet with a quiet purpose that scared me more than any argument. He pulled out a duffel bag and started packing jeans, t-shirts, a flannel I loved seeing him in. No rush, no drama, just the steady motions of a man who'd made up his mind. "You're leaving?" I asked, my voice breaking. Just like that. He zipped the bag, his jaw tight. "This isn't about one night, Mads. It's about every time you've looked at me like I'm not enough. Every time you've sighed when I talk about work or scrolled your phone while I'm trying to connect. I've been trying to keep up with whatever you're chasing, but last night you finally said it out loud." He slung the bag over his shoulder and walked out the door, closing softly behind him. No shouting, no tears, just a silence that screamed everything I'd been too blind to hear. The days that followed were like living underwater. I'd wake to an empty bed, the sheets cold on Caleb's side. The kitchen, usually alive with his morning coffee routine, was still. I'd walk past his toolbox in the hall, his work boots by the door, and feel a pang so sharp it stole my breath. I tried to act normal, answered emails posted, upbeat, Instagram stories. For work, told myself he'd come back. But the silence from his end was relentless. Work was no escape. My team was launching a major campaign for a new skincare line, and my boss Lauren was piling on pressure to go viral or go home. A key influencer we'd booked dropped out last minute, leaving me scrambling to find a replacement while managing a team of junior marketers who kept missing deadlines. I started snapping at them, my patience frayed. My assistant Priya took it in stride, but gave me a look one day that said, "You're not okay." She was right, but I couldn't admit it. I tried damage control with Caleb. I left notes in his workshop, short apologies with little doodled hearts. I made his favorite chili one night, hoping the smell would lure him home. He came by to grab tools, ate a bowl in silence, and left with a polite thanks. No warmth, no eye contact. That's when I realized he wasn't mad. He was done. Desperate, I called Jenna for coffee at a cozy spot in Andersonville. Over lattes, I spilled everything, the sangria-fueled confession, Caleb's exit, my spiraling guilt. Jenna, always the blunt one, didn't sugarcoat it. "You told your husband you're not attracted to him. While drunk. In your own home. Madison, you didn't just hurt him, you broke something. And you've been breaking it for a while." I didn't mean it, I mumbled, staring into my cup. "But you said it," she shot back. "And you've been acting like it. All those comments about his dad bod or his boring job. You think he doesn't notice." Her words hit like a slap. I'd spent months, maybe years, making little jabs, comparing Caleb to the polished men on my feeds, resenting his steadiness as if it were a flaw. I thought I was being witty, but I'd been chipping away at him piece by piece. The final blow came 2 weeks later. Caleb had left his laptop open on the kitchen counter while picking up some blueprints. I didn't mean to snoop, but an email notification caught my eye. It was from a realtor confirming a viewing for a studio apartment in Logan Square. Not a family home, a place for one. My heart stopped. I sat there staring at the screen, my hands trembling. He was planning a life without me. When he walked in that evening, I couldn't hold it together. "Are you moving out?" I asked, my voice barely steady. He set his keys in the bowl by the door, his movements calm, deliberate. "Yeah." "You weren't going to tell me," I pressed, tears burning my eyes. He met my gaze, his expression unreadable. "I didn't think you'd care, Mads. You made it pretty clear I'm not what you want." "That's not true," I stammered, stepping closer. "I was drunk. I was stupid. I didn't mean it." He shook his head, his voice quiet but firm. "It's not about that night. It's about every night before it. Every time you looked at me like I was holding you back. Every time you laughed at my work, my clothes, my life, like I'm some guy you settled for. I've been trying to be enough for you, but I'm tired of competing with your phone, your friends, your idea of what a husband should be." I wanted to argue, to say he was wrong, but the truth, in his words, pinned me in place. I'd spent months distracted, scrolling through curated lives, envying strangers' abs and vacations, dismissing Caleb's quiet love as ordinary. I'd made him feel small, and I hadn't even noticed. "I love you," I said, my voice cracking. He looked at me, his eyes heavy with doubt. "Then why does it feel like I've been invisible to you for years?" I reached for him, but he stepped back, his hands raised. "Don't. I can't do this anymore." Then he said the thing that broke me. "I don't think you love me, Mads. I think you love the idea of me, someone to keep your life running while you chase something better. But I'm not a prop. I deserve to be wanted. He left the kitchen, and I sank to the floor, the weight of his words crushing me. He wasn't just leaving, he was reclaiming himself. The weeks that followed were a slow-motion collapse. Caleb moved out, renting the Logan Square studio. He didn't fight me on the details, no arguments over furniture or bank accounts, just a quiet, methodical exit. The apartment, once warm with his presence, felt like a shell. His toolbox was gone from the hall, his work boots no longer by the door. I'd find traces of him, a stray nail in a drawer, a sketch of a bookshelf he'd never built, and each one felt like a wound. Work was a mess. The skincare campaign tanked when a new influencer posted a shady review, and Lauren called me out in a team meeting. "Madison, you're dropping the ball. Get it together." I apologized, but my focus was shot. Priya stepped up, pulling data to salvage the launch, and I leaned on her more than I should have. One night she stayed late with me, and over takeout she said, "You're not yourself. If you need to talk, I'm here." I brushed it off, but her kindness made me realize how alone I felt. Jenna pushed me to try therapy. "You're not okay, Mads. You need to figure out why you blew up something good." I resisted at first. Therapy felt like something for broken people, but I was too tired to argue. I booked a session with Dr. Ellis, a therapist in Lincoln Park who specialized in relationships. It was uncomfortable, like staring into a mirror I'd avoided for years, but it was a start. A month later, I saw Caleb at a farmer's market in Roscoe Village. He was alone, browsing a stall of handmade cutting boards. His posture relaxed in a way I hadn't seen in years. He looked lighter, not like a man who'd moved on quickly, but like someone who'd finally set down a burden. I stood behind a display of honey jars, watching him laugh with the vendor, and felt a pang so deep it nearly buckled my knees. I didn't approach. What could I say that I missed him, that I still slept in his old t-shirt? He didn't owe me that space anymore. Back home, the financial strain crept in. Without Caleb's income, the mortgage was a stretch. I sold some designer bags I'd once flaunted on Instagram, the irony bitter I'd mocked Caleb for not being impressive. But now I was scraping by without him. My friends drifted. Marissa was supportive, but busy with her own life. Jenna checked in, but I could feel her distance, like she didn't know how to navigate my self-inflicted mess. Gossip floated back, people saying I'd thrown away a good guy. They weren't wrong. Therapy with Dr. Ellis forced me to face the truth. I'd been chasing validation through social media, through my career, through an idea of what life should look like. I'd let shallow standards drown out Caleb's love, mistaking his steadiness for weakness. I'd wanted a highlight reel, not a real marriage. And in doing so, I'd lost the one person who'd seen me at my messiest and stayed. Months later, the divorce papers arrived, a quiet end to a story I'd written myself. There was no redemption arc, no tearful reunion. Caleb was building a new life, and I was no longer part of it. I started journaling, not to win him back, but to understand the woman who'd let him go. I volunteered at a community center teaching marketing workshops to small business owners and found purpose in their ambition. And it didn't erase the pain, but it gave me something to hold on to. Madison and Caleb's story is a warning for anyone who's ever taken love for granted. In a world obsessed with filters and followers, it's easy to lose sight of what matters. Presence, respect the quiet beauty of someone who shows up every day. Madison's mistake wasn't a single drunken night. It was years of comparing Caleb to an impossible ideal, diminishing his worth to feel bigger herself. She thought his love was guaranteed, that he'd never leave, but even the strongest hearts break when they're made to feel invisible. The lesson is, brutal love isn't about perfection or status. It's about appreciation, about choosing each other through the mundane and the messy. If you're with someone who loves you quietly, completely, don't let pride or distraction turn that into resentment. Ask yourself, do I value what I have, or am I too busy chasing what I think I want? Because once they're gone, no apology can undo the silence they leave behind. Are you nurturing the love in front of you, or are you comparing it to a fantasy that doesn't exist? Don't wait until the door closes to realize what you could have saved.